Whenever I work in town, I try to think about what other trips I can take care of while I'm on the bike and away from home. So I brought my trailer this morning empty and brought back after work all kinds of things. I have an air compressor there. You saw me pulling out the recycling bin, a big box, and I can load up to 100 pounds of gear in this little trailer. It stays dry if I can pull the rain cover over it. And I store it that way so it stays relatively clean because I also haul laundry and other things. In the saddlebags, tons of delicious fresh food and vegetables that I brought home from my job at the co op grocery store where I work. There's actually quite a lot of cargo on this particular trip. My backpack is also full of little things. And once I unloaded, I brought my bike back to the little bicycle garage to store for the night. It's become my routine to unload onto the porch and then load everything into the house. So I brought myself some dinner and all kinds of little supplies that I needed to make life at the tiny house easier and more convenient. So here's all the delicious food and groceries that I brought home from the co op after my shift today. I have been wanting to utilize the kitchen more often, like rather than eating convenience foods. Like it was part of my goals that I wrote in my journal when I first moved into this house on day one. Like, I want to get out like an actual cutting board, an actual knife, and like legitimately cut vegetables and cook a true meal. So it's been nice to get back into the habit of making fresh foods for myself. um, I had gotten to be pretty underweight and was starting to feel uncomfortable with how tiny my body was becoming. And so I decided to really make a concerted effort to eat full meals. One of the other things I do as a person who lives alone, when I take the time to get out the cutting board and, actually like cook things that take longer than 10 minutes, is to make more than one meal at a time. So, as I'm kind of preparing this meal, yes, I'm going to eat dinner tonight and it's going to be great. But I'll also have like two little ready to go packed lunches to enjoy the rest of the week so I can take them with me to work and eat real food at work too. These are some of my favorite veggies. I love potatoes. I love carrots. I love green beans. I almost always add an onion and garlic to almost everything I'm cooking just because it makes everything taste good. And almost every meal that I make is some variation of like rice and grains, and then topping that with some kind of vegetable melange of like a variety of vegetables, whatever I have on hand, whatever's fresh, whatever I have conveniently, and I just chop everything into little bite-sized pieces, fry it up in either oil or butter or bacon fat if I've cooked bacon that week. That's another thing I've been doing is buying like a pound of bacon, cooking it all at once, and then storing whatever I don't eat in that moment in the fridge. So I can always add like a little bit of fat and protein to whatever meal I'm cooking. So it's been really nice. This little tiny kitchen is actually super functional. I have a lot of my cooking implements on the left side of the counter. And so I do a lot of my preparing on the right side. Underneath the right side of the counter is where my fridge is too. So I'm able to kind of cook and prepare all the vegetables on the right and then put everything back in the fridge and then walk over to the left and cook everything. That's where my toaster oven is and my little induction cooktop. Underneath the left side of the fridge, also, you see me getting into a cabinet down there. There's drawers, which is where all my dry goods are. So, my spices, my bags of potatoes, anything that doesn't need to be refrigerated, my grains and rices and things like that. And seasoning things like this is like basically what I eat every time I cook. Like I said, a mixture of vegetables and some kind of grain or rice. I do quinoa, couscous, just depends on what I have on hand. Sometimes I like to throw a little bit of chopped greens into my food as well. Usually do that day of rather than while I'm cooking. And yeah, it's been very fast and easy to use this kitchen. Everything is so conveniently located. I finally, after living here a little over like a month and a half, I kind of have things where I want them to be. I'm also really happy with the way that the sink has turned out. It's really convenient. I've gotten into some good habits there too, where I keep it full all the time. So I always have running water. Um, and then I can kind of do dishes as I go as things are simmering in The pan, I can just kind of like wash my prep dishes as I go. I've also found some little habits like instead of putting things or letting the water run into the basin and then emptying the basin into a gray water container, then taking the gray water container out, sometimes I just pop the gray water container right underneath inside the bin so that whatever I'm washing just gets collected and then I only have one thing to dump. So I'm getting pretty fast at using my little off grid sink. Um, I've gotten pretty good at utilizing the small amount of counter space. There's actually quite a lot of counter space. I've just filled it all up with stuff, all my cooking implements and my coffee maker and all that kind of thing. So, um, utilizing things, moving things around so that I can best utilize whatever I'm doing. And yeah, I love the way that the house smells when I'm cooking. It's nice because the weather's warm, so I can leave the screen door open and let all the fumes and smells kind of leak outside. We'll see how much easier this will be in the winter time. We'll see. But right now, I have some plans to maybe build like a little exhaust fan at that kitchen window as well that will blow air out when I'm cooking. It will also help reduce the amount of moisture that builds up in the tiny house, both when I'm sleeping and when I'm cooking. I love living and alone and cooking for one. I get really, really efficient. I mean, by the time I sit down to eat my meal, most of the dishes are already done. While I'm eating, the pan is usually soaking. I've kind of gotten all this down to like a little bit of a science, and it's been really enjoyable. So, I think too, working at the co-op and just touching fruits and vegetables all day has really increased my appetite for um, eating fresh foods. Like I smell the broccoli, I smell, all the foods that I'm touching while I'm working. And then by the time I get home, I'm like really hungry. And that's been really good for me. So, just above that area where I'm cooking is where I store all my dishes and Tupperware and stuff. And you see me pulling out both a bowl to eat tonight and then also a little container for my lunch for tomorrow. And it's all done. It's just kind of like one cooking session and sometimes two, sometimes three, depending on how much I'm cooking. I'll have 3 meals ready to go. It's been so good to actually have an appetite and then to eat something that isn't just like quick and easy, but is actually really nutritious and good for me. Um, I used to have this really strange habit where I could never eat the very last bite of my food. I would eat all of it but the last bite, and then I would feel guilty about not eating the last bite. But ever since I moved into the tiny house and I'm living off grid again, it's just kind of like when I was in the truck. You have to eat like every granule so that you don't have to like scrape anything. And then afterwards, after such a nutritious meal, I've been having these wonderful desserts. Again, with fruits and vegetables being kind of passing through my hands all day as part of my job. I come home and I'm like, dying for fruit. So lately, after I've eaten a nice big nutritious meal, fruits and vegetables and grains, now I'm like enjoying some kind of fruit dessert. I have no shame and no qualms about eating like an entire pint of strawberries in one sitting. It's been really enjoyable to work in fresh food, especially during the summer when the harvest is available. Some of it's local that we're selling, and some of it is being shipped in, but there's always fresh food available to me, which has been such a boon. Enjoying strawberries and fruits and blueberries, blackberries, oranges, bananas. It's been super fantastic. As for the big box that I brought home on the porch, stay tuned to the next video to see what I have unpacked.